The Last of Us is often heralded as a monumental achievement for storytelling and gaming. It's a tale about loss and, more importantly, found family. Found family are the people that we choose to be so close to that we consider them just as important as real family. It's a trait that's been cultivated as non-traditional family life has become more and more common in recent years. Think about it. If you're under 40, would you say that you have a friend you're so close with that you consider them a brother or sister? I know I have a number of friends that I consider that close, and I'm willing to bet you do too. You may spend holidays or your birthday with them instead of your own family. And I think this is why The Last of Us resonated so much, especially with millennials when it debuted. It showed the relationship between two characters who became family after having to deal with loss and pain together. And all that being said, that's what leads us to today's scene analysis. Hey everyone, I'm LittleBobby with 59 Direct, and today on the eve of the release of The Last of Us Part 1 remake by Naughty Dog, we're going to be taking a look at the giraffe scene present in the final act of this incredible game. The scene is widely regarded as one of the best emotional payoffs in any game in history, and today we're going to be looking at exactly why that is. As a warning, there is going to be some mentions of some heavy subject matter in order to give context to this scene, and it may be triggering to some viewers, so please proceed under your own volition. In order to establish context for this scene, let's give a little background as to what occurred immediately before this point in the story. Ellie is taking care of a gravely injured Joel. She gets captured by a group of cannibals and almost murdered during a fight in a burning building with the ringleader of the cannibal group. Luckily, Joel recovers enough to find her, but not before she has to brutally murder the group's leader, David, with a machete.
Stop! Stop!
Fucking touch me!
It's okay. It's me. It's me. It's me. Look. It's me.
He tried to...
Oh, baby girl. It's okay. It's okay.
Joel.
It's okay.
Joel comforts her and takes her away from the cannibal camp, and the two continue their journey. So after all that, we see Ellie and Joel have continued their journey into the spring. The scene opens with Ellie focused on an etching of a deer in the wall. In this moment, it's clear that Ellie is reliving the incident with David and the cannibals. She chased a deer through the woods quite a ways when she already had a rabbit. She's likely thinking about how things might have played out differently if she had not pursued the deer so far away from her hideout with Joel. We then hear Joel's voice start to cut through the silence to draw Ellie's attention away from her thoughts. Joel points out that they are near St. Mary's Hospital, the supposed Firefly hideout and research lab that they've been looking for several months. As they proceed up the highway, the normally talkative Ellie is much more reserved than she has been during the rest of the game. This is a result of the trauma that Ellie is dealing with after her encounter with David. Another excellent detail to note is that if the player approaches Ellie physically while controlling Joel, Ellie will do a slight little jump and move away quickly. Victims of physical assault can often become afraid of physical contact after their trauma, even with loved ones, and we see this represented with Ellie's distance and jumpiness when dealing with Joel, who is her closest companion. During their brief walk together along the highway, Ellie also tries to open up to Joel about a dream she had before quickly dismissing it as stupid. If the player engages in the optional dialogue of the moment, Ellie will tell Joel of a dream she had where she was on a plane that was out of control. She mentions how, in her dream, she ran to the cockpit and saw there was no pilot, and that right before the plane crashed, she woke up. If you were to interpret this dream, you would clearly see that Ellie subconsciously feels like she has lost control of her life, and that she is struggling to find some way to feel like she has a handle on things again. However, not triggering the optional dialogue shows us a departure from Ellie's usual brash and confident personality. While Joel usually couldn't get her to calm down during the earlier parts of the journey, here we see her withdrawing before revealing too much about her emotional state to Joel. Withdrawn behavior is a common effect of the type of trauma that Ellie has suffered as a result of her time being held by David and the cannibals. It's quite clear by this point, which is only a minute or two into the level, that Ellie is a different person now as a result of her time spent with the cannibals and spent fearing that Joel might not wake up from his injuries. The pair then make their way through an abandoned train station in an attempt to get closer to the hospital. If the player takes some time to look around, they're going to find that Ellie doesn't ask questions or point things out to Joel like she normally would.
Everything all right?
Yeah, I'm fine.
You just kind of seem extra quiet today.
Oh, sorry.
No, it's not. It's fine.
Ellie's curiosity was something that caused Joel to warm up to her. Over the course of their journey, he started looking at her less as a liability and more like a daughter. After the loss of his daughter Sarah at the beginning of the game, he started seeing parts of Sarah in Ellie, and that let the two bond emotionally. Here, the silence from Ellie is powerful and resonates with Joel and the player. After a bit of searching, Joel finally sees a ladder up on a high ledge that the pair can use to possibly get out and find their way into further areas. Joel calls for Ellie and is met with silence. Every time that we've called upon Ellie as Joel in the past, she has rushed to be helpful. Ellie has, up to now, always tried to prove her worth to Joel by making herself available to help him in any way that she can. She's been boosted on many high ledges, crawled into small spaces, and even saved Joel's life during some vicious fights. Here, Joel gets no response and looks around to see Ellie sitting on a bench, lost in thought, and again staring into the void. This is the same state of mind we saw Ellie in when this scene opened, and her traumas are clearly still weighing heavily on her mind. When Joel calls out to her again, she responds with a weak and fragile voice, acknowledging Joel with not even a hint of her previous zeal for helping him in their journey. While she is remaining distant, Ellie agrees and hops up on the ledge to help Joel. While she's on the ledge, we hear a loud noise and Ellie exclaims, "Oh my God," while she drops the ladder down to Joel and then suddenly disappears. Joel hurriedly props the ladder up in order to get himself up to where Ellie is. He sees her pressed up against a window frame, and Ellie says, "You gotta see this." And for the first time in this whole scene, we hear a spark in her voice. As the pair moves through the hallways, the player can see the shadow of something cast on the dirty windows, and upon moving into the next room, can catch the quickest glimpse of something moving outside of the building. After making their way a little further, they enter a room with the mysterious creature, which is revealed to be a giraffe that is feeding on some of the foliage growing outside of the building. The giraffe allows Joel close enough to pet it, and he beckons Ellie to pet the animal. Notice how the music here is sweeter and softer than any music we have heard previously at any point in the game, something that we're going to talk about more in a few minutes. The giraffe pulls away from its feeding location, and we see Ellie overcome with positive emotion for the first time since we've joined the pair in the spring. This is also certainly the first time that Joel has seen her smile in quite a long time. A small detail to show off Joel's relief at Ellie being excited and smiling again is his little laugh when he says, "Slow down, kiddo," as Ellie rushes through the building to keep up with the giraffe. Joel has come to care for Ellie as a daughter, and he senses that she might be able to come back from the trauma that was inflicted on her at the hands of the cannibals. As Joel follows Ellie, he opens a door to a rooftop and the music comes in louder to accentuate this moment. This is a moment shared between a father and a surrogate daughter, two people who have been through so much physical and emotional pain together that they almost have no choice but to care for each other. Notice the music here is simple, minimalistic, with piano and simple string parts working together to create a fragile sound that captures this moment. There are also some distinct dissonances within the music that undercut the sweet sound of the piano and the strings together. Dissonance is a powerful tool for a composer, and it makes a listener feel uneasy with what they're hearing. Here, the dissonance is used to keep us grounded in the moment. Even though this is a sweet, simple moment between Ellie and Joel, we can never truly forget that the world they are fighting against and what their journey means. As Ellie leans against the edge of the roof, Joel joins her. We see them taking in the scene, an overgrown baseball field where they watch an entire family of giraffes move through. These giraffes represent the family that Ellie and Joel have found in each other, and as they watch them move through, both of them seem to ruminate on the end of their journey now that they are so close to the hospital that is their destination, which is also visible from this vantage point. For a brief, fleeting moment though, these two get to simply enjoy their time together with each other, letting the terror of everything they've experienced slip away as they see something truly beautiful and serene. Joel asks Ellie, "Is this everything you were hoping for?" To which she responds, "It's got its ups and downs, but you can't deny the view though." For Ellie, this is likely the first time in quite a while that she's been able to get out of her own head. She's realizing that while she went through a horrible, terrifying experience, she still has things that can bring her joy. This moment is a revelation. Life will have its ups and downs. As Joel steps away from the edge of the building, he motions towards a door leading to the inside to continue their journey. He hesitates in opening the door as Ellie takes another moment to watch the giraffes. His hesitation opening the door representing his hesitation in losing Ellie. To Joel, Ellie is a replacement for Sarah, the daughter he lost when the outbreak started, and he knows he can't handle losing this new daughter that he's found. As Ellie approaches Joel, he tries to talk her into leaving their mission behind, telling her, "We don't have to do this. You know that, right?" So many things are on display here with the framing of this shot and its meaning to the ending that we're going to see coming up shortly. If you pay attention to Joel's eyes, it's almost as if he is pleading with Ellie to be done with their journey. He knows once he drops her off, she might be staying with the Firefly faction that they've been searching for during their trip. Again, this is all about avoiding the emotional pain of having to lose another daughter for Joel. On a side note, the technical achievement of Naughty Dog's facial capture tech for the game being made in 2013 is still extremely impressive. Also, notice that while Joel is telling Ellie they don't have to do this, the St. Mary's Hospital is framed between them. The hospital is the thing standing between these two having a life together as father and daughter. This is picture-perfect shot composition. Joel suggests that they head back to his brother Tommy's settlement in Jackson, Wyoming, to which Ellie responds, "After all we've been through, after everything that I've done, it can't be for nothing." While Ellie is finally starting to feel somewhat better about her situation, that trauma will live with her, and her way of making it make sense is for them to keep pushing towards their original goal. If they leave now, it's like she went through all of those experiences since the fall for nothing, and she can't let herself do that. As Ellie pushes forward into the stairwell to continue their journey, Joel takes one last moment to himself and looks back towards the giraffes. As he does this, the last giraffe of the pack walks past the tall trees and out of sight. Just like the giraffe, Joel might soon be seeing Ellie disappear from his life. He lets out a deep sigh and pushes through the door to follow Ellie, where our scene ends. That's all we've got for our scene analysis of the giraffe scene from The Last of Us. With the show coming to HBO soon and the remake out tomorrow, we decided to take a look at this one and see what we could find. There's so much subtext within this scene, and it is certainly a fantastic display from the cast, crew, and director. Masterful storytelling is what set The Last of Us apart from its contemporaries and what launched it into the pantheon of legendary games. Even for a studio as acclaimed as Naughty Dog, you'll have a hard time finding anything more emotionally resonating than this game. But what do you think? Are you a fan of The Last of Us? Are you picking up The Last of Us Part 1 Remake? Is there anything in our analysis that you think we missed? Let us know down in the comments below. And if you made it this far, please consider subscribing, hitting the notification bell, and leaving a like to help us keep creating content like this on 5/9 Direct. Thank you so much for watching. I'm LittleBobby, and this has been the 5/9 Direct scene analysis for the giraffe scene of The Last of Us. Thanks so much for watching, and we hope to see you soon.